All right. I am Gordo the Guardsman here. We are stepping into the 40K informant for another weekly podcast. This week we're going to touch a little bit more on Halo Mythic again. Now that we've got a session under our belt, Eric's here with me. Hi,
YOLO.
Eric. There he is. So we took a look through the rule book. We liked what we saw, and we decided to give it a chance. And we had our first session this yesterday. So this past Thursday. Um, Still debating whether or not I'm going to stream that. I don't know. I'll ask the players and we'll see. What do you feel about it, Eric? You want to stream Halo or just leave it be?
Oh boy, all the horrible things that we say will be out in the open, and I just don't know that the world's ready for that.
Yeah, we
I
do.
don't know if they can take it.
We do talk about midgets quite a lot.
Jesus. No, it's just my character got a brand new fun nickname, and
I mean,
it, it's
you could say retard, can't you? I mean, I've said it on
I
here before. I'm sure.
uh, but no,
Is
it's
it
it's
iffy?
fun. It's iffy. It is iffy, but I thought it was a fun thing to do, and it definitely plays up to character, for the sort of rough and tumble universe we're talking about, and
Yeah.
the sort of the mentality, you know, of the space jarhead.
Yeah, I lived on Camp Lejeune for 17 years, which is a Marine Corps base on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I grew up around Marines. I knew Marines who got, deployed overseas, and I hung out with them every day. I have Marines in my family, so yeah, I probably did the mild mannered version because I'll kid you not, I have met some freaking cussing crazy
Mm.
ass Marines. There was one chick I saw. She was maybe 5 feet. She was short as hell. I'm 6'2", and she was like barely up to my chest. And she was just this short Puerto Rican girl, and she was like some kind of sergeant or something. And I was there with my cousin helping him move into his barracks. And I'm like, who the fuck is that? And you just see her like walking around, and anyone who crossed paths with her, she's like barking at them and like telling them to get the hell out of the way and stuff. And he goes, "Oh no, that's a fucking Sergeant Menendez. You don't look at her, don't talk to her." And I'm like, "Oh no, fuck this." And I was like, "Howdy there, Sergeant." She just beelines over to us, and my cousin Eli, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
You
And I'm
son of
like,
a bitch.
I'm gonna say hi. She's just like starts tearing him a new one. She's like, "Who's this? What's he doing on base?" Blah blah blah. My cousin Sergeant, he's helping me move in, and I'm like, "You think you could bend me in a pretzel, Sergeant?" She's like, "Don't." She was like,
Jesus Christ,
she was
man.
like, "I would hurt you," and I was like, "That sounds amazing." Said, "What's your phone number?" She just like she looked like she wanted to hit me. It was funny as shit. Um,
So a week later, you're in the hospital in traction. What were your thoughts then?
no, I was fine, but she apparently like made Eli's life hell for like a week about that. I was like, "Did you tell her that I miss her?" he's,
Oh God.
he's like, "Shut the hell up." I'm like, "Just tell her." It's
Be
like,
honest. That was your goal the whole time, was to get him on her shit list, wasn't it?
"Oh, I don't give a shit." I'd make his life hard just cause he was funny. He was the cousin from like California.
Ah.
So, and I grew up on the East Coast, so he fucking come over and he'd do dumb shit. Like, every time he came to visit, he'd be like, "Hey man, let's go buy some, fireworks." I'm like, "Fuck you want fireworks for?" It's like April. They don't sell fireworks for Easter, jackass. And he's like, "No, no, no, we're go get fireworks and stuff. I'm not allowed to have them in California." And I was like, I guess they were putting them in mailboxes or something stupid, or maybe because of the
Shoot.
fires. Who knows?
Just maybe, yeah. I was gonna say, it's one of those things they don't get to have in California. Like water.
Yeah, it was just the weirdest thing. I'm like, I know they have subways in California, but every time I saw him, he would do two things. He'd buy like $200 or $300 worth of fireworks, and then he would buy a fucking 12-inch steak and cheese sub from Subway. I'm like, I know they got subways out in California. He's like, yeah, but I
Did they
don't
not
need them out
feed
there.
you in California?
I fucking guess. I don't know. Strange. He was a weird.
he's
He's
Yeah,
a
he's
strange
starved for two
guy.
things. Yeah, starved for two things: food and explosions.
Yeah,
So
and
of
then
course, he joined the military.
yeah. And it's funny too because he's like a dumbass. So like he wouldn't light like he would light like one firework at a time, like a normal human being would do for like about five
Hmm.
minutes until he took like those large combo packs you see in like Walmart or Sam's Club. Like 100.
Yeah,
Yeah, he'd take like a whole pack of that and he'd throw it in a fire and then
yeah, that's
just
what I
watch.
figured. That was Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and
And I
then
think we know why now they're not allowed to have those in California because apparently they're psychopaths.
yeah, and he wasn't allowed to buy fireworks anymore because he burned my dad's lawn. I was like, "You're an idiot." But yeah,
Yeah,
he was a
yeah,
strange
yeah.
cat. Um, but yeah, this Halo Mythic.
Talking about explosions and inadvertently burning down things, Halo Mythic.
Well, hey man, I mean
Yeah.
Halo's the near future. Well, I mean, how
Dude.
close to something after like 2025 is like near future? Is 2552 really near future? 500 years?
I mean, no, not really. I mean, consider where we were 500 years ago to now. I mean, did you really consider that the near past?
Wasn't it like 100 years
Um,
ago we didn't even have fucking planes?
yeah, well, at the same yeah, that's true. Technology does grow at an exponential rate until, of course, we reach the singularity.
Yep.
But I mean, the technology in Halo, really the only two things that you see that are super hyper advanced type shit is slip space drive and the AIs. And even the AIs aren't even that
Well,
far out.
and there's super soldier stuff because
Even
you
then,
know
I mean that's
they're
that's
pumping out
genetic
Captain
modification.
Americas and we ain't got that.
That's genetic modification, and we'll see that long before, in my opinion, we'll see that long before you'll see stuff like cyber cosmetics, like you see with Cyberpunk or 40K, because
Yeah.
we'll figure out genetics modification way before then.
Going into the vastness of space, discovering new diseases, and hopefully
Yeah,
naming them something better and catchier than like space cancer.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's what's going to happen. Space AIDS. Space AIDS will be a
they're
thing.
just like, what is this? Well, it's like cancer, but it's caused from the void of space. Oh, space cancer. It's like, oh my god, I hate you. Like
Yeah.
that's just says to 'em.
Just a little bit, but no, I think in terms of the technological standpoint, in terms of just straight up technology that does not exist yet, it's not that far off. Not really. It's the implementation of said technology that really is where we would get in trouble.
Yeah, because they have some pretty high caliber weapons that are
Mm.
handled really well. I mean, the assault rifle is chambered, I think, in like 7.62. I think it's a fucking
Well, let me just
seven
pull out
six
the.
two by 5.1.
Well, I got this here book here. I'll just take a quick look. Let's see here. Human weapons, the standard Halo rifle that a lot of players will remember is the MA-37 assault rifle. It is chambered in the 50 millimeter by 225 millimeter. So convert that over. I mean, that'd be closer to the 7.62. A little bit larger than the 5.56.
Yeah, it's probably like somewhere around the 7.62. I thought it was like
Yeah.
close to a 308. Um,
Mm.
which I think the 308 is almost basically like a 7.62 by 5.1. I don't know. It's confusing. Calibers and stuff
Well,
like that haven't always been my strong suit because
yeah.
they mix them
7.62
up.
is a little smaller than a 308 round. Like it also doesn't have as much of a charge behind it. And like one of the only reasons that we don't use 308 rounds, because they're really good rounds, is that they're so fucking heavy. They're just so heavy. So you wouldn't want them in a assault rifle style, thing. It's too much. So they chambered. There were a couple of assault rifles that were chambered 308, and they offset it by they would have bipods on them. So you would set it up and just do that, but nobody used bipods, and so their shot patterns would be all over the place. Wouldn't be any good. It was just a waste of money all the way around. Russia did that a couple of times, and they never went anywhere with it.
Well, now this Halo assault rifle shooting that, and one of the variants has like a magazine of 60. I wonder how they're adjusting. Like, I don't know how they deal with the recoil and stuff. They must have some kind of crazy fucking
Oh, space
shit
magic.
built into there. Who knows? I'm sure
Yeah,
they.
a
It's
full
like,
auto.
it's advanced gas
Yeah,
system or something.
Yeah, I mean that's I mean that's even a larger chambered round too. That's the MA5B. That that is a full auto 10 round shot magazine in terms of the game system. 10 rounds full auto, but in real life you can just pull until the weapon goes dry.
Well, no,
That would be larger than
when
a
it's saying
308.
full auto, that's how many shots you can get out in 4 seconds because
Yeah,
the rounds
yeah,
are in 4 seconds.
yeah. But in a realistic lifestyle, you could pull the trigger and just keep going until it dries, or you
Yeah.
burn out the barrel. But that round actually is larger than the previous assault rifle. So that there's no telling. I mean, it's compensated recoil technology. We see some stuff like that here in the real world, where there was a weird Russian assault rifle that used uh, a sympathetic pulley system so that you could get more shots off before the recoil really pulled up. But it was so intricate and difficult to use, and again, it was even just a pulley system. Like it was just so expensive
Oh,
to do, and it would break so often. You know,
it sounds fucking weird.
it
Fucking
is weird. It
pulley
is super
system.
weird. Yeah.
And
Basically, it would reciprocate the bolt in a certain way that it would pull instead of recoil going straight up and back and shoulder, it would pull down a little bit so you can get 3 rounds off, and before you would be climbing, to the sky.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like in so with Halo Mythic right now, yeah, we haven't gone too far into the combat yet, but we've been figuring it out. It it is yeah, it's pretty different from fantasy flight games, but I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I'm loving it. Loving every
It's pretty
minute of it.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the stuff
There's
they have seems to be, pretty impressive.
and that's just it. It's a lot of stuff. There are so many options in this system. That's fantastic. I love option. I love crunch. I love being able to pick and choose gear and modify it in certain ways to get a result that I'm looking for, or just to be different. And this system is fantastic for that. It's just that there's so much of it that it can be overwhelming and a little intimidating.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of grounds for like they definitely included a lot of equipment, a lot of weapons, a lot of attachments and stuff like that. Um, which I mean is crazy.
Well, the detail they went into is insane. I mean,
Oh yeah.
every weapon has a certain amount of mounts, and each one of those mounts is on a certain place on the gun. So then you have all these different attachments that can be put onto this weapon, and they apply to maybe just one of those types of mounts. So that's just for your gun. They have it for your armor. They have various tactile cases. They have all this crazy stuff, and it goes really in depth and in detail. So if you are a sort of I don't want to say military fan, but if you're a gun nut or a sci-fi gun nut, especially, this is definitely something I think you'd want to take a look at because even if you don't like Halo, you could just take this system, this idea, with all respect, of course, to the original creators, of course, you could take this idea and easily transplant it into any universe.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it definitely opens up for dabbling a little bit into, more realism and more, grounded when it comes to combat and stuff like that because
mhm.
yeah, I have a lot of active or like going into the service guys in my other game and every time it's like they want to try to do something like it's like, oh, I want to shoot through this or I want to do this, and it's like, yeah, that's not a rule in there, I'm sorry, bud, that's not a thing. It's like so it's like for some of the 40K stuff I found myself having to home brew a lot more shit. And it's like I was even changing the damage for like hand grenades and stuff because I didn't think they were
Mhm.
dangerous enough. And it's like this Halo
Yeah, that's a
Mythic doesn't have that issue. Hand grenades
no.
are, explosives are dangerous, and you know, all the weapons are pretty high damage, and you
Oh yeah,
know, it,
especially the base damage on most of these guns is 2d10. That's base damage,
yeah,
and that's pretty wild.
yeah, and the assault rifle's like 3d10, and you can attack like 8 times or 10 times in a single round with the assault rifle. So it's like you're gonna mess anyone up. But it's like also it's pretty interesting that like the armor ratings are like pretty high. Like, you're talking about in Deathwatch and stuff, your Space Marine has like armor 8 and then 10 on the chest. And you're talking about in this game, the weakest armor you start with is like 19 on the chest, 17 on the head,
Hmm.
18 on the arms. Um, and then on top of that, it's like you can easily get to about like 40 wounds. So it's like they definitely kept that in account. But I mean, you could still get just bowed down. Um,
Absolutely. There are weapons that straight up do not care about your feelings or your armor in equal
uh,
measure.
yeah.
And any good system will have a gun that's just or a series of guns are like, I don't care that you're wearing full body armor. I'm a cannon and I don't want you to exist anymore. This system has more than a few of those. So be careful, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
Do not charge that wraith head on if all you're wearing is your skivvies.
Oh, good lord. I haven't even looked at the vehicle weapon damage.
It's
I
it's
looked at
pretty
like a
nuts.
rocket
It's pretty
and a
nuts.
hand grenade. I'm like, I don't need to look at the vehicles. I know it's gonna kill anyone who gets hit by it.
Yeah.
Anyone who gets hit
Yeah.
near it, is just gonna be pulp. But and then oh man, that execution rule. Cause like yeah, games have like coup de grace. Like that's a given. But like execution, if you're within point blank range and the target is unaware of you, you just automatically hit and do max
Mhm.
damage. Like that makes walking up behind someone and knifing them like viable. And
Yeah.
people like that, like stuff like that, people wouldn't do that crap in like Halo in not Halo in Death Watch or Only War.
No.
I mean, shit. I even like people in D&D. They're like, "Oh, that'd make the players too powerful." It's like, who the fuck cares? Like, I'm not gonna knife the dragon, obviously, but like some orc or something. Like, shit. I want to just Assassin's Creed style stab someone in the kidneys. I should be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difference of cultures, I think, really. This sort of a system really does appeal, especially with its attachments and its rule system. It really appeals to a person who's looking for a more realistic fantasy. They're looking for more. This is a gun nut system for sure, and
Yeah,
you expect in real life, if you sneak up on somebody and stab them, in the throat or whatever, they're not going to get back up and fight you. But in 40K, they might. So,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, in 40K, all you get for unaware targets is a bonus to hit them. There's really nothing else.
yeah,
Um, and the only other rule I can think of that has to do with a situation that your opponent is in and your attack on them, where it actually implies more damage, is just if they are helpless. And if they're helpless, you automatically hit and you roll twice for damage, take the higher one. That's all. In this system, it's straight up, oh, if they don't know you're there, just snap their neck and then continue along your way. I like that. I really do like that because it does sort of speak to sort of the military sci-fi gamers mentality. I'm gonna sneak up on him and I'm gonna melee him and it's gonna do an execution move and then I go to the next. And I don't think it handles poorly at all in the system. I find it's actually pretty interesting. Now,
yeah,
obviously, there are limits. If you're a standard human going up to a brute and you're going to try and do a neck pop, you're not taking them down by the fact that you can't do enough damage to do it. But still pretty
yeah.
cool.
Well, I mean, that's where like it's like you probably just want to shoot him in the head, or if you use the
Or run
shotgun,
away.
like the shotgun, no one's gonna survive that if it's an execution because it's like the shotgun does like
Sure.
an additional 2d10 because of how close you are, and then it doubles the damage. So it's like not only do you not have to roll to hit, but it's max damage times two plus an additional 2d10. So
Yeah,
it's
if you
there ain't
have
nothing
to
surviving that shotgun blast.
if you have to attack a brute in this system, I'd say there's two ways to do it. One, from orbit, or two, while they're asleep with a shotgun. Um,
We're gonna see, man, because you go toe to toe with them as Marines or ODST or something. It's because it's like
ah,
that's the thing, man. It's Covenant. You're gonna have to fight,
it's Covenant. That's
everything.
true. That's
Yeah,
true. But
and brutes
I
don't
look. I
travel
took
alone
sniper for a
either.
reason. Yeah. No, this is true. They travel in packs. But I chose sniper for a reason, my guy. I can shoot the base sniper rifle in this game can shoot over 2 kilometers, which I think is
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. I
I
think
mean,
elites are gonna be worse than brutes though, in my opinion.
um, because of the shields, you think?
Yeah, I mean it's not as
Yeah,
standard. Like some brutes have shields, but it's not as standard. And I
I think
mean,
only the chieftains do. The honor
yeah,
guard, maybe.
possibly. I'd have to take a look at the rank structure again. Because
Yeah,
like even the
it's
elites, the higher in rank they go, the stronger their shields are. Like you're talking like I think it starts at like somewhere around like 100 points for a shield, and they go up to like 500. Which I mean, that's 500 points of damage you have to do to him
yeah,
consistently before you can kill him.
yeah. You're not doing that with an assault rifle. I mean,
Yeah,
which again makes sense. I mean, try that in on it's called Halo Mythic for a reason. I think really because the Mythic skull is only you can only get it certain conditions are met. It's super hard to do, super hard gameplay. So this sort of gives me the idea that's kind of the point of this is that this is supposed to be a harder system
I don't
to survive in.
I don't even think harder is the way to go because really it's like that's why I want to keep like a lot of open maps and have a lot of options. It's like on the session we did, you guys had to go and deal with some insurrectionists, and you could have openly engaged them, but you still completed your objectives without having to engage all of them. You killed like two or three quietly and then left. So it's like I feel like the rules and stuff are set there to be more grounded and more based in realism, as best as they can, as
Hmm.
opposed to being like 40K where it's like this is just a sci-fi world, this is what's going on. It's like okay, this is the modern military in the distant future
In space.
where yeah, in space, and this is how we would do it. It's like cuz they still have, the rank structure for the Marine Corps and Navy and
Yeah,
Army and stuff like that. So they still like keep it close to home when it comes to actual military. Um and it's like as far as like engagements go and stuff, it's like yeah, it's dangerous. It's pretty damn dangerous because you know what? Fucking guns and shit are dangerous in real
yeah.
life.
Go
It's
figure. These things
scary.
meant to
Yeah.
kill people. Yeah, these things meant to kill people might be scary.
Yeah, there's
Um,
not it's it's fucked up, but yeah, they're really dangerous and it's like, it's like that's what you want. It's like you want consequences, you want that danger. Because it's like if your party it's like and how easy it was to make the character because it's like really making the character was just like you didn't even have to roll any dice if you didn't want to. There was a couple of moments where you can for like background and stuff,
hmm.
but it's like you really could probably pump out a character in like 20 minutes. It's really
Yeah,
just a little time consuming transferring all the information from the book to the sheet because
it
unfortunately like
is.
these sheets don't like have auto calculation in roll 20. They're just just a blank sheet, so you're just
Well, I mean,
copying
that's an
it over.
API issue. That's not a system issue. I'm still flabbergasted that Roll20 has support for this.
Yeah.
I wow.
I mean, like,
Could,
it's like, but it's like there's so many weapons, like you have to have those stats and stuff set to
hmm.
side. But I haven't noticed really too many talents that affect the damage on the weapons. It's really only the melee weapons where you have to calculate
Hmm.
that. But it's like
Yeah,
I'm at the point where I'm like, I think I might just have a separate document that I'm gonna end up putting like the weapons I have for the characters like on, and it's like okay, I'll reference that. It'll be quicker. I don't know. I might make that a handout on the roll 20. It's like I'll put the assault rifle, the DMR, and
that'd
then
be a
like
beautiful thing for you to do.
just like some standard weapons like the sidearm, maybe the knife and stuff. Just standard weapons that everyone probably has, so that it's a quick reference.
Yeah,
Because yeah,
and
there's a shit
there's a
ton of
lot.
weapons. It's
There's a
beautiful.
lot. and and one thing it's talked about is like it has multiple variants of the same series of weapon that it
Yeah.
gets easy to confuse which one's which. Obviously, you get the one you get, and you just look at that one. Just be very careful not to look at any other ones. Typically, it doesn't change a whole lot from series to series, but you might get some different attachments and stuff that can completely change the gameplay. I mean, it, it is that in depth that a simple couple of attachments will change the entire way that your player will engage in combat. Because your minimum range might have changed. The fact that you've added a certain scope. I mean, all these
Oh yeah.
things come together to offer a lot of options, but also a lot of restrictions. Maybe in the way you want to play,
Yeah.
but not
I
in a bad
mean,
way.
no,
Obviously,
no.
you come rocking up with a shotgun with birdshot in it and a 12 times scope. You're not effective at any range, so it's
Yeah, just
not really great to do that.
the stuff they do, like where it's like, melee weapons can give you reach and stuff like that, so you
Hmm.
can reach further for your melee attacks. It's like I was like, that's makes a whole bunch of sense. And it's like, the minimum engagement range for like scopes and certain things. I mean, shit, even like hand grenades having a time delay, where if you don't actually do the cook off rule, if you throw a hand grenade, it doesn't detonate until your following turn. Like that's insane to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, that is actually it's kind of rough, but at the same time, that actually makes the game a little bit more tactical and makes you really consider chucking that grenade because the penalties for either overcooking it, which are obvious, or throwing it a bit too early are pretty hefty.
Oh yeah, but I mean, the fact that you can cook off the hand grenade and it's a roll of either agility or an intelligence roll. Like, I mean, the
Mhm.
whole rule in general, I think, is great. It's like, okay, however many degrees you fail by, that's how many degrees from your target back that the grenade explodes. But it's like
Mhm.
the fact that it's like, okay, I can roll agility or intelligence um, to be able to do that. So it's like your medic can cook off a grenade pretty decently, just like your melee guy who normally has a pretty great agility is gonna be able to cook it off good too. It's like I love that kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah, there's considerations.
I
Yeah,
was reading
considerations
yesterday
for various
that
types of gameplay.
evasion, which is like in this one, evasion's your parry, your dodging, it's all of that. They have rules in there for throwing the grenades back. It's actually part of your evasion, so you don't have to do your actions to throw it back. You can possibly throw it back.
You just catch that sucker and chuck it back at the enemy.
Yep. I mean, fucking start using plasma grenades, I guess.
Catch that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
man,
mean,
we
that's
could go on
that's
forever
interesting.
about the equipment. Yeah, we could go on forever about the equipment because there's just so much here, and I would suggest any homebrew interested GM out there, or even player that might be looking to get into the future, take a look at this. Maybe don't take it completely to heart, especially if it's your first time. It is rather intricate, but do take a look at this and see what is possible whenever you give consideration to the various permutations of weaponry and how they interact with combat because
Yeah.
it's pretty in deep,
I
pretty deep.
yeah, I would say just read it and try, give it a try. Go find the Halo Mythic Discord and find a group. There's always people on there looking for players and stuff. So, give it a try, test it out, see how the combat is. Because I mean, fantasy fight games 40K, like it's great, but it's like I really wish 40K was done more like this. It's like I
A
feel
little bit
like
more
if
gritty.
yeah, just more great. That's what I want, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like there should be minuses and stuff for using long range weapons in close combat. It's like grenades should be scary as shit. Fucking hand grenade in this one does like can do like almost 30 damage or something, and it's double
Hmm.
damage if you're in 2 meters of the center of the blast. Like, the rule of having a blast weapon and then having a kill radius that doubles damage inside of that's insane to me because I'm like, that's fucking awesome. I'm like, that's cool shit. That makes me like that's where my grenade goes matters because you're talking about if I'm throwing a grenade at some orcs or something, if I need to kill the war boss or something, I'm not just going to put the grenade where I want to hit everyone now. I'm going to put that kill radius directly on top of the most important target. And
Hmm.
that's going to affect the combat. Like little rules like that are going to affect combat like drastically. Um,
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, you're the whole system reeks of tactical to me, and that's not a bad thing. But when it comes to a strategy and well tactics in combat, it has an effect. It's almost like, hey, FFG, if you maybe did a little bit more work here and made it a little bit more gritty, maybe a little bit more punch to it, it will actually change the way your players engage in combat instead of they doing the exact same thing every single time. Maybe three different things every single time.
yeah,
Full aim, or a called shot, testicles or some shit like that. Like it's usually with the 40k systems in FFG especially, you get the exact same things happen every single time. But when you bring up a system like this that does get into the meat of combat and how the tactics and especially squad tactics work, new situations will require new solutions. You can't always pull out that grenade. You can't always go charging headlong into melee. Where in the 40k FG systems, usually, if all you have is a hammer, I'm just saying everything looks like a nail.
yeah,
So I like that it does encourage that sort of gameplay because if you keep trying the same shit over and over, you're going to end up as a piece of meat.
yeah. It would definitely be interesting to see if how they would rebalance everything if it was like based in this system because like I mean you're talking about space marines would be armored to hell and back, bolters would be crazy like just instant kill weapons and stuff. So I mean it's pretty crazy and it's like hard to gauge because it's like with 40k they try to kind of almost even the playing field where everything can kind of one shot
Mm-hmm.
everything because it's 40k is just so fucking overpowered. It's just
Oh, I
insane.
mean, it's supposed to be ludicrous. Like
Yeah,
everything's amped to its ludicrous degree, which is part of the whole fun of it, which I appreciate in that. But at the same time, especially for I know it was an earlier system, but for something like Deathwatch to be the meme that it is kind of hurts my heart because the Deathwatch is supposed to be the actual tactical sort of mentality. Like that's where that's supposed to be. They're supposed to be the infiltrators, the saboteurs, the high heroes and stuff, but instead all we get is it squashes everything done forever gone because Space Marines, yay. How
yeah.
often is that interesting? How many times can you do that same thing over and over and it be interesting? And this has nothing to do with GMs being good or bad or anything like that. It's just the system itself supports a style of gameplay
Yeah, I
that it
don't
almost enhances that gameplay, really, that
I
enhances that mentality
I
to just
do
steamroll everything.
almost blame the GMs because and I blame the game makers as well cuz there is this mentality like have you noticed doesn't matter what game you go to, how often are the maps that you are battling in an RPG bigger than a room or say a small street? Um in meters it's well, actually, not even in meters, in squares. In a roll 20 square, how often are your maps bigger than 25 by 25? The standard. Not
Are you asking what I do or are you asking in general?
just
Because in
what you've
general,
played, what you've noticed, like what you've seen. Like
uh
every GM does
yeah.
their own thing, but I mean, how often is it that oh, shit, even in D&D, how often when's the last time you
Oh,
ever pushed a
D&D's.
bow to
Yeah.
you know, you could shoot those to like 600 feet. When was the last time you did that?
Yeah, no, those D&D games especially, you don't see that kind of range usually. Um, but again, it's a different it really is kind of different in that sense, but when it comes to 40K, yeah, there should be a wide variety of ranges because you have weapons that shoot a ridiculous distance. You have vehicles that shoot even further outside said distance, with their weaponry. It should incorporate larger map sizes. The problem is that once you get to something that size and that big, you're either having to extrapolate and take it a little bit more narrative, or you need a huge map and it can get a little clunky. And that's if you're doing a 1-to-1, obviously,
Yeah,
where one unit on the map is equal to 1 meter or something.
and I mean
If you want to sort of narrow that down to say 1 unit is 3 meters or something, you can. But again, it gets a little wonky.
like normally I describe like my maps as like certain things. So like there's the corridor, which is like 30 to 50 meters high and about 100 meters wide. So they're going to start from one side and progress to the other.
Hmm.
Be that a canyon, in a valley, a hallway, stuff like that, where it's like you can go from one side to the other, and going up and down aren't necessary. Um, so it's like I've had moments like that where I've gotten range out of it. I've told you before about like spoofing the distance with especially if you have like uh you know canyons or say like if they're on one rooftop and there's enemies on another, you can put both rooftops on a small map on roll 20 and then fill the
Hmm.
space in between them with blackness and tell them, okay, this is 600 meters away.
Yeah,
um
yeah. It works really well when you're doing like rooftop to rooftop style stuff, or
yeah.
canyon side to canyon side thing, where you don't need to really know what's in between because it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. Alternatively, I have done before uh multiple maps to represent multiple floors. So it'd be one floor is like a 30 by 30, and then I have another map for the second floor, another map for the third floor. So it's like they don't have to take up too much space and loading in, and I as the GM can just switch the players from one to the next when they all start moving up to it.
Yeah,
Um
both perfectly viable ways of doing it. I mean, every GM has their tricks, that they've either come up with or learned on their own, was
yeah,
were
but
taught.
it's like it's like the games, it's like almost like the games aren't like catering to that. It's like, hey,
No.
they don't really tell you like, hey, push it to extreme ranges and stuff like that. But also, there's always this one issue, and it's the fucking melee fighters. You can't push every combat to extreme ranges and stuff because some melee fighters, some players are, they're not the brightest, or they're just super dedicated to their role,
Mhm.
and they just will not use firearms, or they just don't have the trainings and stuff. They just have like a
Just flat out
hammer.
refuse.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
have a hammer. They didn't
Yeah.
get any way to close the distance. It's like I've seen some of them where it's like, all right, I have two chain swords, but I'm an apothecary. I only do melee. I don't have a jump pack. And I'm like, how are you going to close the distance if there's like 50 meters of open ground? He goes, I'll just run
Yeah.
at him. And I'm like, oh,
Or
okay, well, then I'll just shoot the shit out of you. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, you've got a defended position here of heavy bolters and 500 yards to deal with, or sorry, 500 meters because 3K. Yeah, you're not getting there in one piece. And again, that comes into consideration of what kind of enemy they're dealing with and what kind of players you're going to end up having, because 40K does really, especially the way that the system's built in the earlier games, Death Watch, Rogue Trader, a little bit in Only War, but not really, because
Mm,
that's when it really opened up a bit. Uh, they really it seemed like they expected players to go around a single sort of meme or theme of, this is the melee guy, this is the heavy bolter guy, this is the driver guy, and then that is your niche. And there's a little bit of play in there, but that is your niche, and it doesn't really allow for a lot of wiggle room. So while they attempted, in my opinion, to make interesting specializations that made each one unique, what they really ended up doing was making people who are going to be bored in certain situations because they're going to have nothing to fucking do.
yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does confuse me sometimes how some people do that. Um, but I mean, it's like everybody likes to have fun their own way. But it's like I do also feel that obligation, like as the GM. It's like I don't want you just sitting there
Yeah. Yeah, you have to
getting
consider them.
bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is like you built a melee only guy, and it's like, do you think there's never gonna be a chance where there's gonna be open ground? That's like the same thing with the sniper who's like, "What do you mean we have to go inside the building?" It's like, yeah, like the fuck.
Was that a attempted jab at me? Because I was
No, you
prepared
were
for that.
fine. Yeah, you were fine. You had no issue with that. But I mean, that would be like if you did that. And I mean, we
Yeah.
didn't have any close combat guys complaining either. So I mean, um,
No, no.
that was it. And it's like,
I mean, it's inevitable, though. It's inevitable you're going to have players in a situation where they are not suited to that situation. And in times, to me, that can build the most interesting situations. But you have to be careful. There's a difference between being at a disadvantage and being useless. Because one can be interesting, the other one is annoying every time.
yeah, that's what I was trying to get our
Yeah.
player guest on about, because it's like he's like, I have a shotgun, but I'm not gonna use it. I just hold my knives out and stuff. And it's like, well, until you get in melee range or in an engagement, you're fucking useless then. I'm like, you gotta suppress something. I mean, lob some grenades, I guess. Like, you gotta help, do something. If you're running around to flank, then yeah, that's fine. But it's like if you guys start taking fire in the open and you all take cover and he's just standing there, I was like, well, I only got my knives. It's like, huh? Shoot back or something, I guess. Just,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know,
mean, we
hold the
haven't
gun
seen that
up and say
situation yet.
bang. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it might work against orcs. But we haven't been in that situation yet that
No.
has come to pass. So I think, benefit of the doubt, I fully expect him to whip out, his shotgun or his sidearm because in Halo Mythic, depending on, you basically you have the tier and then your GM says, we're playing at tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I believe
Mhm.
there's 7. I think Promethean is level
6 or
7,
7, yeah, something like that.
6 or 7. Yeah. And within that, you have a series of, well, I don't know what you would call them, character groups. What do they call them in the game?
What, the
Um,
classes and stuff?
the types. That's it. Yeah, the types,
Oh
the
yeah.
soldier types. So you
Yeah,
have
Marine, Army,
UNSC and
militia.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So with you have that's this tier, and you have X amount of XP typically that is equipped to that tier, and you will choose which type you're picking. So the UNSC has multiple branches. It has the Marines, it has the Army, it has the Navy, it has so on and so forth. And each one of them breaks down into a series of specializations. So if you go UNSC Army trooper, you could go point man, you could go, basically your sniper, your heavy weapons guy, and they all have a standard kit. Just like in Only War, you have a standard kit. Everybody comes with a sidearm. Absolutely everybody. So even if he is, just playing with knives and stuff like that, he's coming equipped with that weapon, and he would have to choose to leave it behind. So he starts with options.
Well, I
That is
was.
not necessarily the same thing for say 40K games where
Oh yeah, you're
it's more an
getting fucked.
afterthought. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, all Space Marines start with a bolt pistol, every last
yeah.
one of them,
Well, it is a
but not
lot
a
easier to get
heretics.
equipment in this. That's for damn sure.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. There's no rolling for anything. It's straight up. Do you have money?
yeah. He's just like, do you have the points? Yes.
Yeah.
All right, then get it. There you go.
GM, can I buy said thing? Yes, no. Easy done. I
Yeah.
mean that's yeah. There's no renown system. There's no acquisition roles. No fame. None of this is in the system, which I both appreciate and am wary of because it does allow for some pretty serious munchkining. But so does any system.
I mean,
It,
it's
it,
like if you start, well, because like if you start spending all those points and stuff, because the thing is like you gotta hoard those points to get your armor and to get stuff later on.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
it's
Let me
like you
tell you, it
guys
ain't
are
cheap.
gonna do that. At some
Yeah.
point, there's gonna be the switch to silenced weapons.
Oh,
Um,
obviously, yeah. If you're going to ODST, you have to have silenced
and
weapons or
those
suppressed weapons.
attachments, yeah, some of those attachments are like 100 credits a piece. Um,
Sure, for sure.
so it's like I've taken a look at the prices and stuff, and it's like, yeah, you can fucking hoard explosives and rocket your way through. But I mean, you saw out the gate is that like sometimes the mission can determine what goes out. Um,
Oh yeah, every time.
because if it makes sense, it makes sense. It's like. all right, we're going to
Yeah.
investigate a bombing. It's like we're not going to really need a rocket launcher, but
Better to have it and not need it, you know?
well, I
It's like,
mean, in that case, they
but
left
what
it.
if what if, one of these, civilians decides they, would rather be a tank, and they just decide to be a tank all of a sudden?
Oh,
What
really?
if, Sergeant?
That's
Yeah,
right.
they just decide, and it just happens.
And then we'd have to deal with that as it comes, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I mean,
with
it's situational.
Gaston, well, with Gaston, I was saying is that, and I do have to double check the suppression rules because I can't remember them offhand. I assume they're like Fantasy Flight games, but I haven't looked at them, so I don't know. But if it is, you don't need a good ballistic skill to suppress people. You just suppress them, and then you have a chance of hitting them. But who gives a shit? So my point is, if he shoots like shit, the pistol's fucking useless unless he's point blank range. The shotgun's useless unless he's point blank range. But if he can suppress people with a full auto weapon, he should just get an assault rifle because then he could suppress people at range and move up or just provide support by suppressing enemy. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
That I
I mean,
think
that's
that would
really
be
what automatic fire is
advantageous.
for. I mean, in real life, automatic
Yeah.
fire is not really for shooting a bunch of dudes, very quickly. It's actually they're suppression weapons.
Oh yeah.
Keep the guy's head down while your other guy's moving close, and obviously you try to hit them, but you're not using the M29 saw to snipe guys,
That's what he
200
should
yards
get.
away.
He should get a light machine gun and just fucking suppress them and then push up. I'm surprised with
Well, there
there that none of you got smoke grenades because it's like that would obscure visibility and allow you guys to push forward because like
ah
Flint
that
is
that's a two
close.
double-edged sword. Yeah, that's a double-edged sword though, because if you they can't see you, you can't see them typically, and
Oh,
until you get
yeah.
thermal imaging and stuff like that, you're not gonna be seeing them.
Yeah, but you would use it to advance, like because one of your guys is melee specialized. Flint uses a shotgun; he's kind of close quarters. Your other guy's a point man, and he's medium range. And then you have an NPC who's close range. The only long range people are you and the sergeant.
Yeah, and that's all you really need. I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of squad composition,
By the time the smoke's clear, most of the team would have advanced up, and then you and the sergeant would just be plecking at people as the rest of your team got in close combat.
yeah, yeah, and
But
that's another thing. It's like team composition, player group composition. It's not about maximizing, damage over time. Here's the tank. Here's it's really about finding a workable group that people are interested in seeing that plays off of each other, that allows each individual to play to his strength and be in the limelight for a certain amount of time. You don't need a group of snipers. You don't need a group of guys with shotguns and knives. You just need one or two of just various types to go in there, be able to perform a specific task while the others assist, and then that rotates.
yeah, what was it? Yeah, but you're the second highest rank right now is corporal.
Yeah,
So
that was not intentional.
you have to start learning from the sergeant because I mean the sergeant's in charge right now as the NPC, but they're probably going to be a player. I guess it depends on your guys' luck rolls, but an NPC can't always be in charge.
No, and he already got shot once. So he's 2 weeks from retirement, and he's got a baby on the way. Also, he's yeah, every trope
Yeah,
is right
damn
there.
near. Yeah, he's old,
Every
about to
trope.
retire, has multiple kids, fucking tired of this shit. Got
He's
shot.
already booked a vacation with his wife. He hasn't been on a vacation in 10 years. He's looking
Exactly.
very much so forward to it. Yeah, yeah. I fully expect him to get around in the head before too long.
No,
Sorry, no, it'd be in the
he better
heart. It'd be
survive.
in the heart, so he can slowly die.
Oh lordy.
You know,
I guess that's
I
up
think
to
it's
y'all if
suicide.
y'all fucking put him in situations. But I mean, it's like
He's in
that's how,
command. We're putting him in situation.
that's how you well yeah because it's like well like that right there is like it was very straightforward. It's like there's someone on the ground. They look disabled. They've been hit. He didn't check them. He called back. Turned away and he got shot. So it's
Yeah,
like that was a learning lesson for everybody. Is that like he made a mistake and he got shot. and then
Yeah.
he just fell to the ground. Like Gaston thought he was dead, and then Gaston almost got blown up. So
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
that would have
And then the
sucked.
other
He
guy
wouldn't have
just
survived two hand grenades at kill range. That would have been oh
no instant death,
yep.
especially underneath a car that would also have you know
Oh,
been
that
an
was
explosive device.
yeah, that
So
was over there. Yeah, if they did, if
yeah,
uh, if he didn't knife that one guy, he would have detonated the car, and yeah, that would have killed. Well, wait, no, you and uh, what's his face backed off by then, didn't you? Didn't
Smith.
Ivanovich?
Yeah, Smith and my guy and Smith. Ivanish were all outside. Ivanovich was the one. He was
He
the
was
one.
disarming it.
He's the
Yeah.
bomb guy. He's EOD. He's EOD, and he was the one disabling it. And he's down underneath the car and everything. And kids, let this be a lesson to you. You cannot defuse a bomb with your face. Okay.
No,
So no,
because
he
then
did fine.
you go from EOD to meeting the big God in like 5 seconds if you
Yeah,
fuck that up.
EOD to DOA.
Yeah, that's right. Cause yeah, that would have sucked. Um, and I mean, yeah, it's like two simple missions. Second mission, it's like I'm still kind of impressed that you guys, you know, essentially just stick together. Like, there's no issue with command or anything like that. Like,
That was our
you
first
guys
day.
lead with the sergeant and whatnot.
Yeah, it was our
Well,
first day.
and it's like he doesn't. He's like, we're fucking popping. It's like we're doing a distraction and we're fucking dipping. He's like, I have all the information I need. We're gonna try to not get in an engagement. But I
Yeah,
mean,
we're not here to win the war. We're here to get these guys. This is our job right now, is to get
yeah,
these guys out of
yeah,
here.
get the ODST out alive.
Yeah,
And then call in airstrikes. Fuck this place.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Parking lot.
but I mean, it would have been an interesting firefight. I would have liked to see it play out. Six of you guys and two ODST versus what looked like probably like what 22 infantry and a warthog. So
With a chain gun, might I add.
yeah, it's
A
got the
warthog with a
chain
chain
gun.
gun.
But I don't think the warthog would have been in much of a fight because I know Ivanovich. That's what his first target was. He would have rocket launched the
Yeah.
fucking
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Target prioritization is exceptionally useful.
yeah.
It would have been interesting, but I think it was our first session, and quite frankly, we were all kind of new to each other, with the exception, I mean, I've talked to you a bit, you talked to me a
Mhm.
bit, and you've talked to some of these guys before and played with a couple of them, I think. But we're kind of figuring that out, still figuring out characters and stuff, and the way you handled it was perfect. You had NPC. It was a rigid military structure, which I think can actually be rather beneficial to games if only just starting out. It's really beneficial because it allows players to sink into characters, to get used to each other, get comfortable, and understand the system, especially if they're new. If they have an NPC that's sort of taking them around out first, and then that's when you start, letting off the leash a bit, let them do their thing, let them start taking over tactically and strategically, and they work through it. So that's
Yeah.
what we saw. I'm certain it'll get better as we go forward with player interaction and characters, gaining character.
Yeah, I'm waiting for those high tense moments where it's like choosing to engage at certain times is like someone probably is gonna die. Like it's like especially when you start getting to those ODST and like when you start getting to the Spartan missions, like a lot, ODST and especially like when you start getting to being like Spartans and doing their missions, like their missions are normally like you got to do this or you're just not going to be able to come back. Like you're
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
stuck somewhere or you're going to be dead, you know.
Yeah, it's more about the duty than survival, and at that point, where the level we're at right now, it's
Well, shit,
typically you'll be able to come back if you're smart.
once it got to the human covenant war, like once it started getting to that point and humanity was
Yeah,
losing, it was like desperation. Like you had to serve, you had to complete this mission. It's like oh well, there's like 200 covenant forces there, and it's like there's six of us. It's like you have to do this mission. You have to blow that thing up, or we're not going to be able to hold the next planet. Like you're talking 2 million people dying, and it's like all right, and it's like you either die or you get it done and then still probably die, or you get it done and then maybe you get out of there. Just depends.
yeah.
Um,
But everything was turned on its head when that stuff started. So Old
Yes.
tactics don't quite work whenever, you used to be the big boy in charge and suddenly you're the small fish.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for first contact with
I'm sure you
the
are. You're sitting
party.
here with your little GM hands rubbed together like
Oh, I can't wait for like, the party to run into. It's like I don't know if that's gonna happen while you're still Marine. Maybe it will. I don't know. I have to figure it out. Maybe it'll happen while you're still Marines.
you
Maybe
got
it'll
to
be
fight
like the
some. Yeah,
ODST. Who
yeah.
knows?
You got to fight some Covey when you're still just a baseline, boring old, shirt. You
Uh,
got to. It makes you appreciate getting armor.
oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah,
But it's
but
like it's gonna be interesting. Just running into them.
yeah, but Mythic. For those that are listening, Mythic isn't just about guns. It's not just about killing either. There's a lot of cool stuff in this system
About
that I've
making
seen.
lifelong friends.
It is indeed. The killing is the friends you made along the way. No, it's got a lot of cool stuff. It brings in a lot of the stuff you saw in the FFG 40K systems. With fatigue, environmental effects are still here.
Bird murder.
Damaged locations, bird murder. Um, there's also you've got
If
fear, you got mental disorders. It's all here.
if you play a game that has hit allocation and you don't default have the chest targeted every single time, you suck butt. Because I'm gonna tell you, that's a homebrew, whether the game does it or not, that I do, and I think it makes the most sense, and I think it gives even more value to the called shot. It's like, oh, there is no bullshit of your bullets hit a random spot every time. It's like they're gonna hit center mass, the biggest piece on the enemy that you're shooting at, and it's also the most protected most of the time. So if you want to be that person who's like, I never do called shots, it's like, well, guess what? And you're going to be shooting the most armored part of this guy every single time. But you
It does
start,
give value.
yeah, it's like, you want to do called shots? It's like, well, he's not wearing a helmet. It's like, called shot to the head then. Shoot him in the
Yeah.
dome. I did that shit in Fallout 4 all the time. You see those Brotherhood of Steel, and then one of them would just not have a helmet on for some stupid reason.
Oh my god, that always pisses me off. That in 40, I'm sorry going to rant here, but do you know how annoying it is trying to find uh art for your game that you're running where there are Deathwatch Marines? None of these motherfuckers are wearing helmets. I get it. You want to sell the named character, but holy shit, put on a helmet.
See, I always
Sorry,
had
please continue.
I don't know. I've been running and playing them so long that I have a shit ton of Deathwatch characters with helmets, not helmets. Every time I played Deathwatch, my bio would have a picture of my guy with his helmet off, and then my combat token would be him with his armor on and his helmet on, and
Yeah, because
that's
you
how I
should
did.
never go into combat without your helmet on. Okay, guys? Everybody listening here, never go into combat without your helmet.
Yeah, it's like it's like one thing like in Fallout 4, it made sense like if it was like okay, maybe they're like at camp or like maybe they're resting or shit, I'd even give it to them if they're talking to like a passing caravan. He takes off his helmet to be a little more personal. But if you're patrolling or if you're a space marine in an active combat zone, I don't know why you're taking off your helmet. Now again, yeah, if you're talking to someone, you decide to take it off for that +5 fellowship bonus or whatever. Yeah, fuck it. But you're not gonna take your helmet off to just be. It's like I just don't wear a helmet in combat. It's like, well, some Space Marines
Yeah.
do, but they're retarded. And you know what? I'm gonna have my Eldar do a called shot because I hate you.
Well,
Why
see, the
not?
reason why we can't get certain characters can't wear helmets, like say Mephiston, it's because of the hair, the long, flowing, beautiful hair. They can't fit it all in there.
Fuck
They get
that.
helmet head.
Buzz cut.
Buzz cut, exactly. Iron Fist that shit.
Low Navy
Yeah.
reg, man.
But yeah, I gotta say, I have problems with the Mythic system just from what I've seen so far. Obviously, I'm very new to it. Um, Still learning it. I have issues with it. The book itself isn't the best put together piece of work I've seen. It's kind of scattered, and you do find things in places you wouldn't expect, but the options that it presents,
But
I think,
it's
overweighs all that.
it's more organized and it has less spelling errors than the Fantasy Flight games.
Oh
So,
yeah, absolutely.
so I'm
That's like saying like
already
the dictionary has more words than the comic strip in your weekly newspaper. That's you
yeah.
know
I was like, man, I'm like, it's just so much better. Like I was just,
The quality is
but
the
yeah,
quality
it's
is impressive. The quality is impressive for a just but that's just it. Like you see this actually in a lot of just I forget what they're called, just projects of love, labors of
yeah,
love.
yeah,
So they wanted to put the time in this instead of just somebody literally copy pasting book to book FFG.
yeah.
They actually went through and talked about this. And I don't know if this was done by committee, or a group of folks, or if this was just a couple of people, getting together and building a book like this. But you can tell that there was love in this. And even though you do see some scattering of rules and ideas, you can tell that the intent here is genuine to make a in-depth, interesting, and engaging system. So I have to give it props for that.
Well, they got a Discord and they got a Patreon, so I'm gonna guess it's probably a bit more than like 5 or 6 people who are working on it now.
Yeah,
They're
they got a Reddit too. They got a
yeah,
subreddit. It's
yep,
r/Halo Mythic.
yep,
So
and
if you're interested,
you know they're on like the fourth iteration of the beta, so they're gonna keep it going. They're gonna keep releasing stuff. I know they said they were working on like 3D models for all the characters and stuff like that. I don't know what the hell they're gonna do with them. I don't know if they're trying to make like virtual tabletop assets or if they're trying to make physical models or
I wouldn't be
something like that.
surprised.
I have
Yeah, I wouldn't be
no idea what they're
surprised.
doing.
I mean, VTT is the way forward. There's
It's
always going to be in person games. There's always going to be in person
I
games,
gotta
but
get, I gotta play more tabletop sim, but it's like it's
it's
that's a
clunky.
learning curve. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
learning
it's
curve.
it's 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 clunky, and not every system can run it either. Especially whenever, like, I've seen some amazing things done with it. It's fantastic. Star Wars looks amazing in it. 40K
Oh
looks
yeah,
amazing in it,
oh yeah,
but there's a lot of controls. The GM, it's extra setup time that even Roll20 setup time is nothing compared to TTS.
yeah.
But
Cause
VTT, virtual tabletop gameplay, I think is the way forward.
yeah,
Um,
cause I've
and
got Roll20 down to where I can crank out maps in like
oh
no
yeah,
time at all.
yeah,
Um,
it's just image resizing and asset plopping. Just boop, 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 boop.
yeah. Whereas like tabletop sim, I'm like, it's like you get the mods, you get some pre-made maps and stuff, but then it's like, okay, sometimes stuff isn't to scale right. Sometimes you gotta take a look around, figure shit out.
Everything has physics.
Yeah, it's
That's what got me a lot is the controls. Now this was a couple years back that I did this, and I haven't done it since. But like just setting something down be such a pain, especially considering if anything touches another thing, there are physics and it interacts, and you can turn it off now. I know, but back then you couldn't, and it was just it was a pain in the ass.
yeah,
And while the result might have been visually stunning, the amount of time you would spend, and I believe would still spend, setting something up like that, it far exceeds what you would do for something like Roll20 or even an in-person game. But hey, a lot of effort and pay off with a lot of fun. So fair's fair.
yeah. That's fair. Yeah, it's like I don't think I'll ever do like Halo or stuff like that in tabletop sim anytime soon. I think Roll20's pretty good. There's people playing 40K in tabletop sim, and God bless them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're
That's
playing
crazy.
apocalypse games. Full on 5,000 point games. Titans and everything on the board, and it's impressive.
Yeah.
But no, thank you.
Yeah. I don't have the patience for that. I mean,
You
shit.
sound like you need sleep, my guy.
No, I'm all right. I was just yawning.
No, it's just not fine. I'm just.
I'm just dying. But yeah, I'm excited for Halo Mythic. Excited for this campaign. And then we got to see what's gonna happen with my only war game. Got one player who's going off for his deployment for the Marine Corps to I want to say he was saying like Northern Africa or something like that.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and then I have, which is funny because I also got my older brother. He's in the Marines. He's getting deployed to Japan soon. Um, but then we have another player who is going to be going to the Navy sometime in the near future. I think like the next couple months. So it's like I'm already losing like half my party. So it's like
Yeah, that's rough.
yeah, the only war campaign might get put on hold for a little bit. And then we might come back to it with a Space Marine only party. And then
Mm.
just start going into the Andromeda Galaxy and finishing that campaign up. But in the meantime, hell, I might do like 2 Halo campaigns in a week on Thursday and Saturday and see how that goes because I'm fucking digging the Halo Mythic system.
I'm
Um,
into it. Yeah, I'm into it. Still learning it, but I'm
yeah,
into it.
I'm it's like step by step, man. It's like probably get some more melee combat and stuff like that, and then like very light vehicle combat. It's like I don't want to go full blown into everything at once. Um, it's like okay, find out what shooting at vehicles is like, and then it's like okay, finding out what driving vehicles while shooting at other vehicles is like, and stuff like that, and go from there.
It's got a lot of aspects to it that you're not going to get in a single session or even in a few sessions. I mean, eventually we'll come around to seeing most of it, but there's a lot there.
Yeah, because you guys are at what 1600 XP. We're gonna need 2000 to get you to ODST, and we're doing on average like 50 XP per mission. So
Yeah,
that's like what? What's 400? Oh, it's 80, eight, 8 missions. So
yeah, thereabout. I mean, call that 4 or 5 sessions, because you did, if it sticks around being about the same that you did previously, which I wouldn't expect. Some missions are just going to be longer than others and more
yeah,
involved, especially when like if we had gotten into combat, with that big group, I really think we would have been in it for at least another session. Partially because we're still learning the system. So,
yeah, and like they do have it to where it's like you can give XP per kills and stuff like that, and I want to say they're pretty hefty too. It was like 20 or 30 XP for like each kill or something like that.
maybe I really hadn't taken a look at that yet. That's in the GM section, and I don't like to take a peek at that if I'm starting a system as a player.
Oh yeah, yeah. Normally
I
I
like
just
to
like
keep
to
my eyesight
do
above.
XP as like per missions and stuff because I'm so used to like
Yeah,
all the FFGs where it's like you don't get shit for experience for killing anything. Um, and even for objectives, you're only supposed to get like 5 to 10 points or something. It's pretty crazy.
I'm kind of the same way. I'm kind of the achievement XP person. Like obviously, I give out individual XP and stuff, but like for every session, I have a base idea of how much XP I want to give out. If there's combat and if it's fun, and people have a good time, it's a good combat and it's not just a total wash and people aren't doing anything and not interacting or whatever. I'll give a little bit more XP because it's combat. If it's really good combat, I'll give you more. Meaning, like if it's really dangerous, I give more XP. But I don't do the individual kill XP or stuff like that
Yeah,
personally because that gets a little clunky. And unless the individual is counting their own kills, as a GM, you got so much going on. Call me lazy if you want, but whenever you've got hordes and dozens of enemies on the board, I cannot be bothered to keep track of every single individual kill. That's a little too much, I think, to ask of a GM.
yeah, it can be, especially when you get to the point where it's like, I mean, in one of my games, I'm like, they fought a horde. They killed like 178 guys. They killed a horde when they did 78 damage to it. They killed a Bane Blade. They killed 5 Chimeras. They killed 4 troop transports that were civilian class, and they killed everybody in the. So I mean, they don't freaking play. But
No, no, I believe the term there is acceptable casualties.
but I think I'm gonna call it here for this night. I gotta answer a phone call and stuff, and probably
All
start
right.
getting ready for bed. Yeah, it's starting to hit me. But hey, Eric, thanks for dropping by again. We'll pick
Thanks
it
for
up
having me.
next. Yeah, it's no problem. We'll pick it up next week. Maybe we'll have some more knowledge on Halo Mythic when we get another session under our belt, or we'll start talking about some other 40K related stuff. I mean, I haven't heard any crazy huge news, but I'm gonna keep my eye on there. Mostly, I'm waiting for that rip what was it? Riptide, Dark Tide. That's what it is.
Dark Tide.
The Left
Oh
4 Dead
man,
style one.
yes.
Yeah.
When that comes out, I will have a lot to say because I am looking forward to it. And if they fuck up, you know I'll have words.
I will have sayings with them. Well, all right, Eric. You know, everybody else, thanks for tuning in. It's been Gordo again. You guys have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.